No one ever told me that I had to be remaking an entire world from scratch. All right, remember what the encyclopedia says? I think it looks something like this. Okay, I'm getting a little bit closer. Focus on the color of the world, and that should do it. Now everything should be in place, everything should be in working order, and my existence is no longer a threat to the ecosystems. Okay, what just happened? Because something definitely feels off. What do you mean you can see my face? You've always been able to see my face, right? Wait a minute, I'm starting to get an idea of what's happened here. Because I repaired the world, I may have accidentally changed how things work around here. Which means you can see me fully now. I don't know how far the extent of the damage goes. So, let's go find our first monster girl from the very beginning, just to see how much has changed and whether or not you remember anything at all. All right, rookies, tonight's quarry is called a succubus. They belong to the family of succubi. These devilish monster girls belong to the fiend type category. You can find most succubi inside the monster realm. These freaks natures are considered lustful. Most, and probably all succubi feed off the essence of human men. The succubus is a higher order fiend in possession of potent abilities. Succubi tend to be found in the monster realm, though the monster realm is not the only place they are found. They are known to take human form and infiltrate human settlements. In the previous overlord's reign, succubi were the monsters of an intermediate status, but their position has risen considerably since the ascendance of the new overlord. Under her influence, all monsters now look like women and can feed on the essence of humans, but even before the current overlord, succubi took the appearance of women and lived by feeding on the essence of human men. There's a considerable degree of variation in their appearance to accommodate the range of passions among men, from voluptuous succubi to those more diminutive in form. However, they all share a lascivious beauty that excites the desire of men. As an appearance, there is great individual variation in personality, but all possess a faithful dedication to lust and desire. Succubi are imbued with powerful magic and use it almost exclusively to seduce men. When a succubus is drawn to a particular man, she applies a range of methods such as her seductive magic or inviting figure to draw him in to engage her in sexual intercourse and gather his essence. Only the strongest-willed of men have any hope of escaping the wiles of succubi. If a succubus has acquired a man's essence and finds him to her taste, she will carry him off to the home of the succubi in the monster realm. Men, however, are not the only humans subjected to the hunger of the succubi. Succubi also seek out human women, inject her with mana during sex, and turn her into a succubus like themselves. A human woman who has recently turned into a succubus is known as a lesser succubus. But it is not only women who are turned into monsters. Succubi also inject mana into their male partners while mating. When a man is exposed to mana, his libido swells and he produces large quantities of essence for the succubus. After a brief yet intense transformation, his humanity is overpowered and he becomes a being called an incubus, and lives on the mana acquired through copulation with the succubus. Once this occurs, the man is presumably doomed to spend eternity in sexual congress with the succubus. The rise of the new overlord has resulted in a change in values. Monsters previously vile and combative have uniformly become wanton and lustful sex fiends, while beastmen when in heat now seek the pleasures of men. Now that copulation with human men is monsterkind's highest priority, their arts to seduce and pleasure men have often come to take on greater significance than their raw fighting strength. This shift in monstrous character has drawn the succubus greater attention, and as mentioned earlier, a wide range of monsters have followed the example of the succubus and now take the deepest joy in the act of mating with human men. All of these changes are ultimately owed to the fundamental nature of the succubus, and it can well be said that the succubus is the modern era's foremost representation of monster kind. With this information, we can safely say that the succubus's threat level is high. They pose a serious threat to a single hunter. The key features of a succubus are their high magic capabilities, their seductive charms, and their access to mana-infused corruption. However, due to the succubus's lustful nature, they can be rather easy to spot in a crowd. They also don't have any biological charming magic, only casted ones. They're also quite weak to rejection. That's not to say the succubus has their fair share of strengths. They're capable of disguising themselves good enough to hide into any human settlement. They're also able to corrupt the mana of any man or woman they encounter. They're also very good magic users. The tools you should have for a succubus encounter are a few toys. And if you're going for a certain style of subjugation, you should also have protection. You need nothing else other than your wits. Succubi can be found anywhere in the monster realm. However, hunters, for our purposes, they can be found in human settlements. The first method of subjugation, and the most common method, called Hey Sexy Lady. Step 1. Talk loudly about how backed up you are. Step 2. A succubus should appear at a moment's notice. Step 3. Don't use protection. Step 4. You now have a succubus wife. Good job, hunter? Method 2, or the true hunter's method, called Back Home You Go. Step 1. Talk loudly about how backed up you are. Step 2. A succubus should appear at a moment's notice. Step 3. Use protection. Step 4. Escort the succubus back to the monster realm portal and throw them in. So how does this all line up with actual mythology? Well, the term succubus originates somewhere around the 1400s in Europe as a female demon that visits men to seduce them and steal their life force. And that's not to say that similar creatures did exist earlier, sometime in Mesopotamia, but the actual term succubus didn't exist until then. Now, what does line up is their capabilities of disguising as a human woman, and their true form being described as more demonic. However, in certain cases, their description of their true form can also be described as bird-like, similar to a siren. My thoughts on the succubus are a definite 5 out of 10. They have a good design. I really like the hip wings. However, with the succubus nature and all that, they're kind of basic. However, the perfect middle ground for a monster girl start. Well, with that monster girl covered, we can finally begin. With a fresh start, a new world, we can finally begin construction on a guild house. A place where rookies and hunters can gather alike to hang out, look at new bounties, I don't know, have a drink or something. But with the guild house, it means I don't think I can be called your instructor anymore. I think guildmaster has a nice ring to it, don't you think? Although if you do want to still call me instructor, I don't mind. It also is pretty catchy. Let's give a big shout out to our courageous supporters. First of all, the guild saviors, Pharaoh71, the Huntathon heroes, Tiku Be Vibing, the Sounds of Kiki, the Sleepiest Gamer, Finny VT, Titus Leon, aka Jack, and our trained hunters, BonesMD98. Thank you all for your support. And if you want to join the roster, consider becoming a channel member today. And if you liked the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all soon. Stay safe and good hunting out there.